Hello everyone, and welcome to this short, no-nonsense and unresponsive review of Hogwarts Legacy. That's right, no you rage YouTube spammers here, or whatever the latest NFT scam game is. So, Hogwarts Legacy, developed by Avalanche Studio, no, not the one behind Just Cause, instead the one that's made many Disney games such as Disney Infinity. Possibly one of the most anticipated games of this year, maybe the decade, that is making people yell, "Shut up and take my money." Well, my question is it worth your money? I would say it depends on your view. If you're a Harry Potter mega fan that makes woke people cry on Twitter all day, then absolutely. There has been no better game that captures the look, feel, atmosphere and immersion of the Harry Potter franchise and its world. However, if you're not a diehard fan and don't have a degree in the lore of Harry Potter, then you'll probably just see this game as another generic Ubisoft style open world game with RPG elements. Thankfully, there are no radio towers to be found in this game. There's nothing wrong with this approach, and it's not a bad game at all, it just doesn't do anything you haven't seen before. The first thing to note is the story which is set in Victorian Britain. You create your own student using a fairly basic character creator who is starting Hogwarts as a 5th year for some explained reason. You quickly learn that you have the ability to see and use ancient magic which has been lost, which makes an evil goblin known as Ragnar take notice. This goblin is trying to start a goblin uprising by utilizing the dark ancient magic. This story itself unfolds as a mystery, finding the origin of this ancient magic, with many unique and interesting characters along the way. Overall, it's an enjoyable but slow mystery story that falls upon the usual good versus evil tropes and many of the tropes and themes you find within the Harry Potter book. All of the characters are new due to the Victorian time setting, and therefore you won't be seeing many of the iconic characters spawned from the Harry Potter books and films. However, many of the characters, templates and tropes are built into the game. There is, of course, an AliExpress version of Snape, McGonagall and Dobby, for an example. Furthermore, a lot of the characters seem to have zoomer personalities that feel a bit out of place in Victorian Britain. This game is definitely not historically accurate. The graphics, however, are quite impressive, from the rolling hills filled with forest and vegetation to the tiny stone details on the walls of Hogwarts. Everything is in that increasingly near photorealistic style that current AAA games are trying to achieve. The lighting is particularly good, filled with loads of atmospheric effects. There is good shadows, and ray trace reflections of surface-like marble are pretty mind-blowing. Everything looks and feels authentic to the film and the Scottish countryside. This is definitely one of the best looking and immersive visual experiences to date. However, I have experienced the odd frame drop here and there on my PS5. On PC, I have seen that you need quite high specs to run this game, with some of the higher RTX cards struggling, so it does seem to have optimization issues. However, it's not the glitch fest like Cyberpunk 2077 was. The world itself is smaller than most open worlds, however, it makes for a much more dense and detailed experience than most, which I think more games should do. Nearly all the recognizable sights from the films are included, although no Diana Alley, sad face. The world is also not completely loading screen free. Sometimes it will hold you for a few seconds behind doors while it waits for the outside world to load. Sometimes you have to press a button to load into a dungeon area. However, this game does have a lot to see and do, and it is using a lot of horsepower, so understandable. This game generally gave me OCD and anxiety, not seen since playing a Bethesda game. There are countless different collectibles to find in the map, from chests, lore pages, to balloons, statues and puzzles. There are loads of different types of puzzles repeated throughout the map for you to find and complete, which earn rewards such as gear, money, unique items and upgrades. It takes collectathon to a whole different meaning. Other than that, there is 43 main quests which should take around 30 hours to complete, and over 100 side quests. However, many of these are the usual boring fetch quests you expect, with some being more interesting, those being the ones that usually involved many of the various companion students, such as Sebastian. This brings me on to gameplay. Most of the gameplay is you going from point to point, talking to people, having to find an object or explore a hidden area, or solve a puzzle, with some combat corridors and segments thrown in along the way. Combat was always going to be as risky as personal or political opinion on Twitter in 2023, as the game revolving around magic only may get boring or frustration, with many previous games failing to produce good magical combat. I'm happy to report combat is mostly smooth, with you mainly combining spells and different combos to damage the enemy, whilst using a shield to protect yourself and counter-attack. Where it falters is that you have 4 spells mapped to 4 sets of diamonds. It's often clunky and slow to swap diamonds during combat, and sometimes you'll need to swap spells altogether, which means a pause of combat and going into a menu to swap spells. There are 27 spells in total, with many being similar, but doing slightly different things. There's your usual push spells, levitation spells, combat spells, things to change the world. PS1 fans will be happy to note that the inclusion of Fendo is here. To learn new spells, you have to complete an assignment, which is essentially some kind of challenge. Go collect a research. Then you watch a class cutscene and do this weird shaped QuickTime event, and there you go, you have a new spell. Like all RPGs of late, there is a basic level system where you earn XP and level up your stats, and earn perk points, which you can apply on various perk abilities. You then collect gear to improve these stats, with the gear having a level and colour rarity from orange to blue like every RPG in the last 10 years. Nothing new here. The game also makes you a hoarder, and you must collect everything you see inside and absolutely pillage the ecosphere to upgrade gears and apply bonuses and various talents to you. You can also craft potions and plants which act during buffs during combat, and the plants are essentially grenades, with one plant known as the Mandrake essentially acting as a flashbang bang. The game holds your hand a lot. You can press the button and see all the secrets and enemies in an area, meaning you never really have to think for yourself, and you have to rely on the X-ray vision sometimes to actually make objectives appear. It kind of feels like war hacks, but I guess in the magical world fits in to the theme more than other games, such as The Division, where you're using X-ray vision to see enemies. The combat is also broken up by basic stealth sections where you use a semi-invisible spell to go predator mode and sneak past people, with the usual dumb AI spotting you if you get too close or make a sound. You can also cast your wand at objects to draw them to the noise. It's essentially the same as every other modern AAA game, but without long grass. You also get the room of requirement, room that you can decorate and place various crafting stations using a Fallout 4 style building system. There is also a system where you have to rescue various magical but cute creatures and take care of them by feeding them and brushing them to collect resources. You can also sell these for money. Money is often hard to come by, with you having to sell old gear, beasts, and resources to make. The gameplay overall is enjoyable and fun, but it doesn't really do anything new or break the formula. It's just a really solid and well-made experience. But I guess not every game has to break the boundaries and do something new. Traversal around the world is also fun and smooth, whether on foot or on a broom. It feels easy to control, especially the flight controls, which if not done right can break a game. Various other games, looking at you Superman 64, were completely awful due to the flight controls. Hogwarts Legacy has definitely done that correctly, and flying through the air, whether on a broom or hippogriff, is generally an amazing and fun experience. However, many fans would be sad to know Quidditch is not included, with a weird story reason as to why it's not included. Instead, you are left flying through rings via a time trial, which is a lot more boring. Also, this game does seem to be a bit glitchy. Often I didn't receive the reward request. I would have to gear unable to be picked up or get stuck in shop menus. I also experienced 5 crashes during my playthrough. Also, a few quests The puzzles within the quest glitches and I couldn't progress without restarting my system. However, no major or extremely game-breaking glitches have I experienced. Also, it is important to note this is not a Hogwarts simulator. Quests, classes, and events in the world all wait for you like every other game. There is nothing missable. NPCs don't have any kind of daily routines or move around much. The common rooms are mostly for show without you even being able to go to sleep to pass time. There are no consequences for any of your actions outside of quests. You can stroll into any restricted section anytime, consequence free. You can walk into someone's house like a lunatic and steal everything in sight with no issue. I think a lot more could be done to make this a living, breathing world. Think Bethesda RPGs or Shenmue for example. Overall, however, this is probably the best Harry Potter game made, and if you're a fan of the franchise you will love it, and should buy it, no question asked, as there's no other experience close to making you feel like a wizard or witch in the Harry Potter world. However, if you're not a fan, you have probably played this game with a different skin about 100 times by now, and therefore should wait for a price reduction, or just skip it entirely. It is a good game, and it is made with love and respect for the source material, even if it is a bit of a template game. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.